What's going on, Ravens fans? Welcome into the Baltimore Ravens Rundown. My name is Joey Peterson. Hope you guys had a great weekend because we are diving right into it on this Monday morning. We got a ton of news to go over for each and every one of you guys. As you know, free agency is a week away. ESPN released a huge article. Dan Graziano, Jeremy Fowler sharing a ton of intel and a lot of it on the Baltimore Ravens. We got a lot to discuss, but before that, make sure that you guys are subscribed to the channel. Help me out. Let's get to 46,000 subs before the end of the week. Heck, let's do it before the end of the day. We'll be live for all of free agency. It's going to be the perfect place to hang out. We'll chop it up, Baltimore Ravens. If they make a move, we'll be on there making a video instantly, so make sure you hit that big red sub button down below. 100% free daily content only on your Baltimore Ravens. Let's get into the latest on Tyler Linderbaum, because I feel like you cannot tell the story of the Baltimore Ravens free agency in 2026 without starting with Tyler Linderbaum, who seems to be one of the hottest free agents on the market right now. And Dan Graziano gave us a little bit of an update, saying the Ravens hope they can keep free agent center Tyler Linderbaum. But plenty of people believe in Indianapolis that he will get offers that exceed $20 million per year, and that Baltimore won't want to go that high. And right now it kind of feels like that update means Tyler Linderbaum is going to be gone. Because we've seen rumored all over the place that Tyler Linderbaum might be getting somewhere around $22 million. And that just said they don't want to go as high as 20. Now that would be record-setting, market setting for that position. Right now, Creed Humphrey is your highest paid at $18 million. Cam Jurgens, Elton Jenkins, both at $17 million, tied for second place. And what we do know from Eric DeCosta this last year is that they have offered him a market-setting deal. A little bit more from our GM.
Yeah, so first of all, Tyler's a guy that I have tremendous respect for. Obviously he's proven to be, in my opinion, the best center in the league. We've been having conversations. We've had conversations since the end of the season. And at this point in time, we've made him a market-setting deal, proposal, offer, and hopefully we can get something done with him between now and the start of the new league year.
We discussed this clip last week, and the first thing I said about it is, okay, he used some interesting language there. He said market-setting deal, right? So market-setting in that sense could just mean 18.5. That would be market-setting. He would become the highest-paid center in the National Football League. But what's $18.5 million compared to $22 or $20 million that he's getting elsewhere, okay? Obviously, he's going to take that money if he's getting paid by the Giants, by the Chargers, by the, I don't even know, it could be freaking Al-Qaeda, $22 million. He's most likely going to go. What's the percent chance that Linderbaum re-signs with the Ravens? Let me know. Scale it for me, 1 to 100. After that report that Baltimore's not willing to go as high as 20, I would put it at like a 5% chance. This is easily the most pessimistic I've felt about Linderbaum returning to Baltimore. Let's talk draft. Obviously, we got free agency coming up in about 8 days. We got the draft coming up in less than 2 months. And they give us a little bit of a draft nugget, mainly on who they expect or what position they expect Baltimore to go in with that 14th overall pick. Baltimore is already looking out for upgrades at guard. It would not be a surprise to see it address that position in the first round of the draft, and now could need a new center. I don't know if you guys were as locked into the NFL draft last year. It was a little bit harder to be. They had the 27th overall pick, and, it's just a couple months removed from the brutal loss to the Bills in the playoffs. Like, it feels like with a new coaching staff and a top half of the draft in that first round pick, it's easier to be more excited about the draft this year. But Malachi Starks last year, this is how it feels to me. Leading up to that day in April, it seemed like every single person, whether it was ESPN, whether it was Fox, whether it was CBS, was talking about how perfect a fit Malachi Starks would be with the Baltimore Ravens. And then that's exactly where they went with the first round. And now it kind of feels like, as over these last couple of weeks or so, a lot of people have been talking about, Dan Graziano included, okay, would not be surprised to see the Baltimore Ravens go offensive guard in that first round, which would then bring us to Alohi Gilman, offensive guard out of Penn State, a guy who we've been discussing for months at this point. it seemed almost like too easy to pair the two together. As a guy that I think would be a day one impact starter for Baltimore. I think he'd be a day one improvement over a guy like Andrew Voorhees or Daniel Fa'alele, whether they decide to slot him in the left guard spot or the right guard spot. I think the biggest weakness he has is you don't really know much about his ability to move in space, which could give you a little bit of PTSD given what we had to deal with Daniel Fa'alele last year. But I also think just adding Dwayne Ledford in as your offensive line coach is going to help this team have a massive improvement overall. My prediction, Ravens trade back from 14 to around the 18 range, and they draft Vega One. Okay? That is my prediction as of March 2nd, 2026. You can book it. We'll revisit this in about a month and a half. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson's contract, because a lot of what you're going to be able to do next week will depend on the fact if you're able to get something like this done over the next 8 days or so. Dan Graziano, a little bit more. Would like to finalize a contract extension with Lamar Jackson, the Ravens that is, who has 2 years left on his deal at $53 million a season. Baltimore has automatic conversion rights to the contract, meaning they can add more void years, convert salaries, signing bonuses, and knock down this year's cap number by as much as $38 million. And they don't need Jackson's permission to do it. Jackson still doesn't use an agent, and that has led to some complications in these kinds of talks between him and the team in the past. So it's hard to handicap the Ravens' chances of getting it done. This is only a matter of time. I think it 100% is going to be something that happens. The question is just when. Not how, not if, but when. Hopefully it's going to be sometime in the next week or so that way you can use that money saved on the cap to go spend some money and get some players in free agency. Because that cap hit absolutely shoots up after this last season. 2025 is $43 million. Well, 2026 and 2027, it's $74 million per. Now, like Graziano said, they can add void years to his contract. They don't need his permission to do so, but he's already got 2 void years on it. They don't want to do that. They want to extend him. They want to lock him down, similar to what the Buffalo Bills did this last year with Josh Allen. And that's, I think, a big advantage for Baltimore is you've got Allen's contract to look at and just say, hey, we could probably just replicate it. 6 years for Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills. $330 million total, average of $55 million, $250 million guaranteed. You can switch those numbers around. You can add to certain things, take away from certain things. But I do believe this is a great framework and an easy starting point for Eric DeCosta and the Baltimore Ravens. How much would you be willing to pay Lamar Jackson per year? Let me know down below in the comment section. Dak Prescott, highest paid quarterback right now at $60 million a year. Josh Allen at 55. Do you think he gets as much more than Dak, or do you think they bump up the guarantees? Let me know down below in the comment section. We got more to discuss on today's show, but I do have to give a big word and a big shout out to our awesome sponsor of today's show, our great friends over at PrizePicks. And you can shoot your shot with our friends at PrizePicks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. PrizePicks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. PrizePicks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. So don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in. Pick from all your favorite sports, anything from basketball, baseball, hockey, UFC, soccer, college basketball, tennis, golf, esports, and more. PrizePicks now has early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. We got baseball season just around the corner. Here are my season-long prize picks. I took the more on Juan Soto, 37.5 home runs. I took the less on Paul Skeens, 2.65 ERA. I went ahead and took the more on Roman Anthony, 20.5 home runs. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup, that's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. What are the Baltimore Ravens going to do next at wide receiver? Because like we've talked about a lot in that group, there are a ton of question marks. Is Zay Flowers a wide receiver 1? Does Rashad Bateman suck or not? DeAndre Hopkins, is he going to be back? He's a free agent. Why don't they play Devontae Walker? What's going on with Tyler Wallace? Like, there are so many questions that need to be answered in this offseason. Graziano feels like they might be answering one with Zay Flowers decently soon and Rashad Bateman sometime this next season. I got the impression from my conversations that the Ravens plan to pick up the fifth-year option on 2023 first-round pick Zay Flowers, and that will put him in line to earn $27.298 million in 2027 after making $2.6 million in 2026. Rashad Bateman is coming off a down year, but is guaranteed $6.5 million this year. The Ravens seem inclined to give him another shot in the new offense they're installing under new coordinator Jaquan Brisker. Let's start with Zay Flowers. So, obviously, you pick up that fifth-year option. That gets him $27 million. That's not even in the top 10 of wide receiver money. And I think that's kind of where he sits right now, right? Like, I think he is a really good wide receiver, but I don't think he's a top 10 guy. And I believe that a lot of people, yourselves included, hopefully, would agree with me in that. Now, his remaining contract, obviously, 2026, $4.46 million. But if they do pick up that fifth-year option, that jumps up to 28, around $27 million in 2027. You might be wondering what a fifth-year option is. Basically, if you were a first-round pick, well, any draft pick in general gets 4 years on contract. But if you're a first-round pick, your team has an option to take you in that fifth year, add another year to a contract. It's kind of like a blanket price based on what you've done in the past 4 years, how many Pro Bowls you've made, statistics, rankings, awards, things of that nature. His comes out to $27 million. I think this gives them one more year to decide, okay, is this guy a wide receiver one? Is this guy the guy to build around in that wide receiver room? Or do we need to start planning for the future of wide receiver outside of Zay Flowers? Now for Rashad Bateman. We all know that his 2025 season was incredibly disappointing, especially when I was a guy who stuck my flag. I mean, how foolish did I look this time last year? All summer long, like a freaking idiot. I was talking about how Rashad Bateman could be the wide receiver one on this roster, and Rashad Bateman was like the wide receiver 7. Like, I had very similar statistics to Rashad Bateman this last year. I do think it's a good idea, though, to stick with him for one more year. It's not going to be too much in guarantees. They said about 6.5. You have a brand new offensive mind. I do think when you look back at the film, he wasn't utilized to the best of his abilities. That's why you hire Declan Doyle. That's why you get a new offensive coordinator in to see if they can unlock that part of him. And the reason you signed him to that extension. But if he's not it this year, man, you cut ties, you trade him, you do whatever you need to. Last up, a possible positional target in free agency that I did not really expect, okay? All we know is, or what we know, what we believe we know, is that the Baltimore Ravens' biggest needs, offensive line, defensive line. You could probably throw linebacker and cornerback in there as well, wide receiver. Takes you a while to get to safety. Jeremy Fowler believes that's where they could maybe go in free agency. The Ravens could be in the market for a safety in free agency too, for multiple league executives. Jesse Minter was known to experiment with the same setup with the Chargers, 3 safeties. I'm not sure how many dollars the Ravens could be here, but it is worth noting. Now, I am interested to see how aggressive they are in this. Because you got to think, okay, your 2 best safeties on this roster. Your former first-round pick last year, Malachi Starks, and your former first-round pick multiple years before, Kyle Hamilton, who I believe is one of the best safeties in all of football. So you think they're going to go safety in free agency. That begs my question, okay, what are they going to do with Ardarius Washington? He must be a guy that they're just, okay, we're going to let him walk. Obviously, brutal what happened with him with the torn Achilles. When he came back last year, he was not what he was in 2024. Okay, well, you traded for Alohi Gilman in October from the Los Angeles Chargers, a guy who's played with Jesse Minter before, but he's hitting free agency. Are you not going to sign Alohi Gilman or re-sign Alohi Gilman? That report makes me believe the answer to those 2 questions of Gilman and Washington are no, and that they're going to go elsewhere to get a guy in here who they believe can be the perfect third safety on this roster. They got a lot of options. Okay, Jaylinn Hawkins from New England, Coby Bryant, Bryan Cook, Jalen Thompson, Kevin Byard. Really interesting, however, he is getting a little bit older. I really like Kamren Curl, now with the Los Angeles Rams, former Arkansas Razorback, Donovan Wilson with Dallas, Jaquan Brisker with Chicago, Nick Cross with Indianapolis. A lot of really good options there, but those guys might command a little bit more money than Baltimore is willing to pay, at least those 5 years left, so we'll kind of have to see what they do there or see if they even go with a safety at free agency. Name a free agent you want the Ravens to sign down below in the comments section. A little bit of a longer episode today. We're going to get on out of here. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us on your Monday morning. Stay tuned by the channel, okay? Because either later in the afternoon or early tomorrow morning, we're going to have an update, an awesome update on Max Crosby trade rumors. You're going to like it. I promise you that. Make sure you guys got me followed on socials because whenever that video is out, I will tweet it out. Make sure you're subscribed, okay, with those notifications on. That way, every time we do post a video, you guys can be right here hanging out with us, watching it all together like one big happy flock family. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday, and we'll see you next time.